fine-tuning, and the existence of God. So what does all this have to do with the existence of God? Well, in the last several years, scientists have made a discovery so shocking that it's played a prominent role in leading to atheistic thinker Anthony Flew conversion to a belief in God. Now, again, he didn't come out and be a full-on Christian here. He came out to be a deist, but as someone who did so much work in the kind of atheistic sphere of things, talking about things like being a default atheist until you have enough evidence to kind of believe in a deity being a better explanation. Well, he did that. He set up the goal, he met the challenge, and so he crossed over into at least the deist point. Which again, okay, you're halfway there. You're William Lane Craig on Pier 1. It would have been nice to jump to Pier 2. All right, so what was this discovery? Well, it was that the universe is precisely fine-tuned so that life could appear. More than 100 independent, hard facts about the universe have been discovered in the form of basic constants of nature. Excuse me, hold on. Okay. Of the form of basic constants of nature or arbitrary physics magnitudes, which are, scientifically speaking, brute facts, and for which there is no further scientific explanation. So an example of this would be that the force of gravity in the universe, or the charge of an electron, or the rest mass of a proton, the rate of expansion resulting from the Big Bang. All these things are just brute facts, and so there's no scientific explanation for them. So what blows the mind of so many is that if any single one of these, much less all 100 that have been kind of notated or discovered, had been slightly larger or slightly smaller on the order of a billionth of a percentage point or more, then no life could have appeared in the universe. Theoretical physicist Paul Davies acknowledged that the seemingly miraculous concurrence of numerical values that nature has assigned to her fundamental constants must remain the compelling evidence for an element of cosmic design. So again, all these 100 factors, and so just think about it. You probably heard of the Earth being within the Goldilocks zone, but that might be able to be explained away. But these fundamental factors of things like gravity or the charge of an electron and all these things, they must be the case for life to exist. And again, we talked about this in our book with Mitch Stokes, How to Be an Atheist, where it says that he was saying that scientists have acknowledged this to a certain degree, that things like even evolution, again, not all of the universe, but even evolution as a design factor is so precisely needed to fall within the confines of probability that you have to postulate all these other universes to exist. So the multi-universe has to be made in order for us to kind of skew with the percentage factor. And so, of course, this universe, out of all the universes, has life, because in an almost infinite number of universes, this is just one, and this is the one where aren't we just so lucky to have life pop up into existence from nothing, and nothing exploded, and then it created everything, and then evolution happened, and we're here today talking to you because of nothing exploding, and it rained on the rocks for millions of years, and lightning struck it, and even though you don't have non-life produce life at any other point, it did this one time because we're a universe in a multitude of universes, and so it just happened. So
we're a universe in need of coming into existence.
Yes.
And so he says that's really the response of the naturalists. He says the main attempt by naturalists is to avoid the argument by postulating what you suggested here, the many worlds hypothesis, according to which there is a world ensemble containing an infinite number of actual concrete universes parallel to our own, with which we are incapable of interacting, so we don't know about them, right? We can't interact with them in any way, including scientific means of interacting. And so he says, given that each world in this world ensemble of, universes would have its own combination of values for its constants, right? These are these universal constants that he's talked about, the fine-tuning things, and arbitrary physical magnitudes. And it's probable that there will be many universes from this huge number of, universes that contain beings capable of observing their own universe. And thus, says the objector, it is necessary that our observed universe be one that contains the right combination of constants and magnitudes, because if it did not, guess what? We would not be here to debate the question. So it has to exist because of the many worlds hypothesis. So that's what the naturalists try to get away with in terms of their explanation.
Right. Well, and I remember reading about this in Michael Crichton's Timeline, which I did not like whatsoever. There was too much explaining and not enough plot. But he talked about how these multi-universes, it wasn't time travel that happened, but it just so happened that there were so many universes that it only appeared to be time travel when you sent your explorers to a different universe. And
Well, that's
yeah.
pretty.
But then you realize that, oh, we don't have the power to bring them back. And so you just send them to a universe that has the power to send them back. But I was always thinking like, okay, so if those universes have the ability to interact with other universes, then there has to be a universe out there that has the ability to explode all the other universes. And so there should only be one universe, which is ours, because we're the universe that exploded all the other universes, right?
There
Because
can
we're
only
here.
be one. Get
So
out.
I'm just saying, if you're going to go all out on this multiverse thing, I too want to go all out. Well, Moreland goes on to say that in his view, the many worlds hypothesis fails to be plausible. For one thing, since we cannot interact with parallel concrete universes, there's no hard scientific evidence for their existence.
And I think this is a good point, right? I mean, it's for all practical purposes, it's just something that we could say is made up, right?
It's the universe.
Explanation, to give an explanation, right? Can we interact with these? No. Can we be aware of them? No. There's no hard scientific evidence for these, but they have to be there because we got to get around theism. And so this is our way, right? Well, come on, really?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So further, the many worlds hypothesis is a prime example of a bloated worldview, the very opposite of scientism prized values of simplicity and elegance. Again, the good old Occam's razor comes into play here. It tends to be used by both sides, and both sides probably overuse it as well. But this seems to be the goblins in the clock explanation here. And finally, the hypothesis proves too much. While advocates take the hypothesis to allow it to avoid the conclusions that the universe resulted from an intentional creative action by God, I think it also derives, he says, one to avoid believing in other intentional actions by us humans.
Right. So it proves too much. So what exactly is it getting at? Well, I think I like his illustration here, right? Because he says what happens is that it drives one to avoid believing in any intentional actions by humans. And so he gives this illustration about playing bridge, I think. He says, suppose we have a pot of $500 for the winner of our bridge game, and that he's the dealer. All right, so there's $500 in the pot, and you're the dealer. And he says, on the first deal, surprise, I give myself a perfect winning hand.
The math, it works.
Yeah, he tells us the others at the table rightly accuse me of doing an intentional act, purposely cheating. Well, no, duh, right? And of course, he responds by noting that, well, in the many worlds ensemble, there are many, many worlds, and we just happen to be in the concrete universe where I get a winning hand on the first deal. And of course, he says, surely such an explanation is bogus.
No, it's just the science.
Too much, right? But, the next time we cheat at cards, we can say, but the many worlds ensemble explanation.
Right. You've shuffled the cards and you shuffle one more time. The possibility of you shuffling so that all the spades and the hearts and the diamonds, the clubs are all together in sequential order is possible, right? It's one of the possibilities. And so if you did it, you're not doing a magic trick. You're just doing science. So you shouldn't. It's just a random event, and you shouldn't be surprised by it whatsoever.
So magic is science, and science is magic.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.